Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Xana Kernodle, and in today's video, what I'm going to do is offer you a quick summary of the summary we did yesterday on a live stream. That live stream ended up being 2 hours long, and really what it was a summary of the 769 pages worth of search warrant applications, sealed and redacted search warrants relating to the Idaho case. If you know nothing about the case, on November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered in their off-campus college home in Moscow, Idaho. And their names were Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. A suspect was arrested on December 30th, 2022, and his name is Bryan Kohberger. His next court hearing is set for June 26th, where that is the point at which he will either plead guilty or not guilty, and from there on, the legal proceedings continue. There has been a motion filed for him to have another death sentence approved attorney added to his fleet of attorneys. Currently, he's got 2. He's got Ann Taylor and J. Weston Logston. So it seems that they'll be adding another death penalty qualified person to his team. Now, there's been some confusion about these documents, so let me first tell you how they came to be. So, of course, with some of these sealed documents, of which these are still heavily redacted, and they're now unsealed in the sense that the public can get their hands on the documents, right? Even though there's not all that much in it. But how the 769-page document came to be is because the Docket, who has a YouTube channel, the Docket 71, actually took all those documents, which was more than 58 separate documents, and he put it together for us in a binder, and then he shared it to Twitter. And now it's being spoken about as if it's a new 769-page document that was just released kind of from the courts. But it's really just a collection of all the latest court documents. And what it pertains to are all the search warrants that were conducted from pretty much the day after the murders took place and all the way till now. They're still going over all the data that they've collected. So what I've done is I've written some notes, and I'm just going to share with you what they were looking for. So why are they still looking for a KBar knife based on what we know? Well, we know that a KBar knife sheath was found next to Madison Mogen's body, which now has led police to believe that it was a KBar knife that was used, and therefore they need to search the land for any purchases relating to a KBar knife. Even though some transactions wouldn't actually have records of this, they have searched Amazon, eBay, Blue Ridge Knives, and Walmart, to name a few. That's based on these new documents that we see that they'd applied for search warrants to find out exactly who bought a KBar knife and when, and is there any chance that there's proof that Coburger bought one. Now, there was an ASIN number provided for the knife sheath and also for the knife, which got everyone in a frenzy to think that that's receipts that Bryan Kohberger, look there, you could see he bought it, but it isn't that. It literally just is an Amazon standard identification number that each product has. And then when we look at the eBay ones, they also listed ASIN numbers there, which I would assume would be, let's say, if someone buys a product from Amazon, like a KBar knife, of which they listed several varieties that they're looking at. So if someone buys a knife there and then sells it on eBay, that ASIN number is still there. It's what they're looking for on eBay as well. So just to be clear, the search warrants that they have executed was not just at Amazon, and they do not have a receipt to prove that Coburger bought a KBar yet, from what we know. At the trial, they will obviously present all their findings. These documents were really just telling us what all they were looking for. One of which, the main items, would be a KBar knife, which makes sense. So Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Blue Ridge Knives, those were some of them, and all their distribution centers, of which most of those were redacted as well. Then they looked into the victims' iCloud accounts, and there as well, I could see there's theories building because Kaylee's iCloud account wasn't listed there. Could it be because she has an Android? Or could it be because she's on a family plan, which is what her sister said, and her sister had already had access to her accounts and everything, and she was giving the police information, which was very, very helpful in the early stages of this investigation, of course, about what was on Kaylee's phone and who she phoned and what happened and all of that. So they probably didn't need a search warrant for Kaylee's phone, and it doesn't mean that the other families didn't give the police permission to the victims' phones. It's just that Kaylee's sister was so incredibly proactive that I don't think at that point at which they applied for these search warrants that they needed a search warrant for Kaylee's phone. They did look into Kaylee's laptop. There was a search warrant for that. And of course, also her Facebook account, her Instagram account, as well as all the other victims' Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, and all of that. They've also looked into all the financial records of all 4 victims, and then 3 other names are redacted. In some places, it looks like 5 other names are redacted, and one can only speculate. We don't know who that is, so we shouldn't ever fill in those blanks because we just don't know. It's redacted for a reason, but it would make logical sense, of course, that it's the 2 surviving roommates as well as Bryan Kohberger, and at the time at which these search warrants happened, of course, Bryan wasn't arrested yet. They also looked into what we can now deduce Bryan's phone, because they were looking into AT&T records as well as T-Mobile records. I don't know whose phone that was about, but they were specifically looking within a half-a-mile radius from the house for where that phone was, GPS coordinates basically. And they were specifically looking for those GPS coordinates from November 13th from 3 to 5 a.m. Now, bear in mind that the financial records that they were looking into for all 4 victims and 3 to 5 other redacted names include all the banks in the area. So a lot of people were saying, well, what if they each have like 10 bank accounts? But it's more plausible that they were looking at all the banks and just gave a search warrant out for each financial institution and just like, can you see if there's records and can you just send that to us in case they can make some sort of a connection. For example, if one of the victims was in a store on a certain day at a certain time and they bought something and they have evidence of that, then they could also look at, for example, Coburger's records. And if he was there at the same day, at the same time and everything, it could start building a timeline or adding to the timeline of stalking behavior. They also looked into Dropbox accounts, eBay accounts, Cash App, Venmo accounts, DoorDash. They did a deep dive on DoorDash from the 1st of January 2022 all the way up to present day, which at the time was around December 15th, 2022. And that's relating to DoorDash orders that were received at the house. They looked into Google accounts, everybody's Google accounts, and they specifically listed Kaylee's Google search history from the 1st of August 2022 all the way up to the 19th of November 2022, and then also Bryan Kohberger's Google accounts and Tinder accounts. They also had a look at Kaylee and Maddie's Tinder accounts specifically. They looked at Snapchat. They also looked at Reddit, and they specifically mentioned Kaylee's Reddit account. And as we know, Kaylee followed true crime cases, so she could have been following some Reddit threads relating to true crime. Then they looked for security footage at Umpqua Bank, and what they wanted there was exterior footage from the camera outside the building, which was actually right outside very close to the grub truck. So that makes sense as well. And they were looking on November 12th between 9 p.m. and midnight for that security footage. Another one that was quite interesting is that they were looking for a UPS truck delivery video between November 6th and November 14th. Any deliveries with a UPS truck in Moscow, Idaho. And that search warrant, what they received, they recorded as a delivery truck video. They looked at all social media platforms, every record, including Yik Yak as well, and then Yahoo. And they also, of course, looked at Walmart. They had a whole bunch of Walmart search warrants relating specifically, though, to a KBar sheath and a KBar knife, as I mentioned earlier, because they need to find the weapon. So that really is a short summary of what we went over yesterday. If you want to revisit what they actually found in Bryan Kohberger's apartment, office, in his parents' house, and in his car, and what he had on his person when he was arrested, I will link that video for you in the description box so that you can check that out, because there we also did a deep dive and I made visual presentations for you and things to go over just so that you can easily remember what they found there. I will also link the stream for you that was an hour and 59 minutes long, so if you do have the time, or you could just pop it on in the background, at least then you can listen to me more comprehensively go over the document. Of course, I couldn't read the whole 769-page document to you. I mean, even just my little summary took 2 hours to go through, and for me, honestly, it probably took 12 to 14 hours of intense studying of those documents so that I could make these summaries for you. So if you do want to check that out, even if it's just to give it a thumbs up and share it, that would be much appreciated. I will keep you posted on any other updates in this case. Of course, really, there's not much more that could possibly happen or come out before the trial. So even if they did find the weapon, even if I don't know, something riveting happens, it's probably all going to be very quiet until the trial, which is why we must just be patient. I think I was already saying that about 2 months ago. We just got to be patient now. There's nothing much that we can draw from all of this until the trial. And we do, of course, want Bryan Kohberger to have a fair trial. He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So it's great to see as well that the police have done such a thorough job, which of course they would, although we don't see that in every case, right? But they're doing such a thorough job with these search warrants and trying to find every single little bit of information and evidence that could help out to present in the trial. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you again in the next one. Stay safe.